Welcome to Traipsing on Wheels. Today we're going to learn tips on how to successfully navigate ourselves abroad in a wheelchair. So I hope you all will enjoy this video. Number one, book your flights to arrive in the local region either in the morning or early afternoons. That way you'll have time to get yourself settled in your hostel or hotel and purchase a SIM card, get local currency, just to prepare all the things that will enable you to have a fun and successful trip. Prepare as much as you can ahead of time. This can include making sure your phone is unlocked so you can purchase a SIM card once you get to the local region and just slip that SIM card in there and be able to use your phone. And then also get local currency. Don't get a lot, but get enough so that you can, once you get there, you can get a meal in and purchase a SIM card, put down a deposit for your either hostel or hotel. A lot of times the hostels or hotels will accept credit cards, but just in case, it never hurts to be prepared. And then the other thing is to know how far away your hostel is from the airport. I always try to book places in the city center. That way I know it shouldn't be too far from their main airport. So, and also that's probably mostly where their attractions are, and so it'll make it easier throughout the trip to travel around, navigate around, and check out the wonderful sights. Travel light. Always, always, always. So I remember when I was going to London, my bag was bursting to the seams. So once I got to my second layover, for some reason for my first layover, they didn't even check. They didn't care that my bag was 50 pounds overweight. Anyways, so but for my second layover, the guy was really strict and charged me 85 pounds, which is around $110 for at the time for my bag. I was pretty pissed off, but what can you do in that situation? So better to prepare ahead of time and travel lightly, because you can always get more stuff and you'll always probably want to get some new things and bring it home, either for your family or for your friends or for yourself. Always communicate in person. So when you get to the airport, don't use the automatic kiosks, because chances are they're not going to be very helpful in terms of booking aisle chairs to help you get on the plane. So I always go through the check-in, talk to a representative, and confirm with them that I'm in a wheelchair. I'll require an aisle chair, even though you've already done that when you booked the flight and when you called in to confirm 2 weeks before departure. But it's always good to double, triple, quadruple confirm. It's an unfortunate situation when when you're in our situation. The world has not progressed to a point where they just have everything beautifully planned for people in wheelchairs. So always double, triple confirm and talk to them in person and tell them what your needs are. Be very clear, be very specific. And I remember one time I was going to Berlin, and for some reason I had assumed that they had arranged an aisle chair, so I didn't. So when I arrived at the airport, I talked to a representative, and they were like, "Yeah, we have it arranged, and it's there." And but when my flight was about to depart, the aisle chair hadn't arrived yet, and I'm usually the first one to get on the airplane, and the last one to get off. And so the plane was literally 5 to 10 minutes before it was going to depart, and my aisle chair still hadn't arrived yet. I was panicky. I was in tears. I was just I just could not calm down. And the employee that was there was like, "Well, unfortunately, we might have to leave because they're not coming." And I was just sobbing like the worst thing in the world has happened to me, basically. Fortunately, in the last second, the one of the staff comes rolling in with an aisle chair, and I was able to get on the plane. It was such a stressful situation. So I hope you don't experience that because it was very stressful. That's why it's always best to communicate in person. Always have all the paperwork necessary for the flight, for once you get to the region, whether that's your acceptance letter. For me, for instance, I was flying to Cape Town from London, and when I got to the airport, the airline people were really skeptical and was really doubtful that I was able to travel by myself to Cape Town and be enrolled in this program. So I gave them all the paperwork they needed. I gave them my acceptance letter, my program details, contact information for the people that I would be interacting with once I got there, and my housing situation. I just gave it all to them. Always get a gate check tag. So it's this pink tag. I'm sure you've all seen it, and that you put behind your wheelchair or wherever, anywhere visible, and that allows you to, if you have any layovers during your flight, they'll bring the wheelchair right to the gate, and you'll be able to use that wheelchair during your layover to use the restroom, to get something to eat, to just wheel around and have the freedom to look around. Because if you don't do that, that wheelchair will just go straight to your final destination, and then it won't go to the gate even once you get to your final destination. It'll go to baggage claim, and that won't help you, especially if you're unable to um, walk and go to baggage claim. So that's very crucial. Always remember to do that. Make friends with the local people, especially make friends with the, in my case, wheelchair users. Whatever your disability is, make friends with them, because chances are they've experienced all of the obstacle courses there are for that disability, and they'll be able to tell you tips and tricks, and that'll help ease you into the environment much more smoothly than if you don't. I remember I was really glad that I made some great friends who are also wheelchair users. I was studying abroad in Nanjing, China. One day I was coming home from classes, and my caster wheels, the little wheels in front of my wheelchair, just fell off in the major road in Nanjing, China. It's called Beijing Xilu, and it just started rolling. So I had to do my, use my acrobatic skills to wheel home, and Skyped my parents. Of course, they didn't know what to do. They were all clear across the globe in the U.S. And so afterwards, I called up my friends in China and the wheelchair user friends there, and they knew exactly what to do. They brought over the screws, they brought over the washers, everything I needed to repair the chair. Within 30 minutes or an hour, it was all fixed. And so I was really grateful, because otherwise I don't know how I would have resolved that situation. Know your level of mobility. So what are you comfortable with? What are you able to stretch yourself with? For me, even though in a lot of the countries the metro stations, the buses weren't necessarily totally accessible, I was able to use it. I would tag random strangers to help me down the stairs and often lift my wheelchair over the turnstiles so I could ride the trains. It was very exhausting to do that all the time. And sometimes people aren't the most friendly and they don't necessarily want to help, or they also have an injury and are unable to help. In that case, I often feel really guilty. But um, when I travel to a new region, I will often push myself to see if I can live in that place if I really wanted to. Because if I was a local, say, living in Mexico City, I wouldn't be able to ride the cabs or Uber all the time, every day, wherever I went, because that would be really expensive. So I want to see if I was a local there, living there long term, would I be able to use their transportation system if I had to? And so, and the answer is yes, but it'd be really exhausting, not only for me, but for the locals there that I would constantly have to ask to help me. So know what your limits are, know what you're willing to try, and know what you're capable of. Be honest with yourself and push yourself from there. Be bold. So, what do I mean by that? What that basically means is to try new things, go to new places. Don't be afraid of doing things just because you're in a wheelchair. If I was always afraid that my wheelchair was going to break down and how my custom built wheelchair from the USA was going to malfunction, and thinking about that all the time, I wouldn't want to go anywhere. But know that there will always be a solution. Life doesn't stay still. There will be obstacles, lots of them, but there will also be solutions, and lots of them. I remember when I was in Cape Town, I was exploring around the University of Cape Town. It was very hilly in one area, and for some reason, I think I hit a rock and I fell off my chair, and my wheelchair was about to roll down the hill. It was spinning like it was going to roll down the hill, and I was just looking at it so intently, like I was like, "Don't roll down the hill, don't roll down the hill." And by some sheer luck, it didn't roll down the hill. It just was spinning, and then it stopped, and I was able to pull it over and get in my chair again. So be bold, be courageous. There are a lot of exciting things out there for us to experience, and this wheelchair's got nothing on us.